Welcome into First Take. Skip Bayless and Molly Karam here in Bristol, CT. Stephen A. joins us from NYC. Gentlemen, good morning. How are we doing?
Good morning. How y'all doing?
How are you doing? That's the big question. We're doing
busy
great.
Day, man.
Yeah.
Busy day, bro.
Yeah.
Got a lot of stuff to handle for the show and beyond, but I'm
right?
here because it does not matter, Skip. I'm here for you.
Just
That's
for
all
me?
that matters.
What about me?
I was well, Molly, I'm always there.
Oh,
Yeah, I think more for her than for me, but that's okay. I accept it. It's okay.
Stop being sensitive.
Yeah, well,
Go ahead.
but I hear you're actually in New York because you have a rendezvous with Mr. Will Smith. Is that true?
Okay, big time.
Okay.
That is correct.
He's big timing us, but that's okay.
That is right. That's not big timing. I'm not big timing. You could have been here. I'm here for you too. You know? Let's keep that in mind.
All right.
All right. So Stephen A. has a lot on the agenda, and so do we here on First Take. Let's get into it. Dwight Howard is extremely unhappy in Houston, playing second fiddle to James Harden, multiple league sources telling SheridanHoops.com. However, Howard called the report lies and said he has never expressed any dissatisfaction with his role and with the Rockets underachieving. The team may try to move Howard later this season, according to the report. Skip, how valuable is Howard right now?
Stephen A. Smith, to me, not very. To me, I wouldn't want Dwight Howard on my team right now, but allow me to preface what I'm saying by saying I am not blaming Dwight Howard completely for all that ails the Houston Rockets right now, who have fallen to 14 and 16 to the 7th seed in the West, inconceivably to me. But that's not all his fault. And to the point here, he may have a point, even though he didn't voice it after the game, that his man James Harden is hoisting up 20.2 shots per game. That's third most in the NBA. And Dwight's shots continue to fall. He's only taking 8.3 a game. Now, back to my premise. To me, Stephen A. Smith, given all that we all thought Dwight Howard could become in the National Basketball Association, given all that he nearly did become, because he was second in the MVP race in 2011, did get to one finals, as you recall, and lost to Kobe's team in 5 games. Given all the hysteria that was created when Dwight, Willie or Woney, left Orlando, went to the Lakers, and all the further hysteria created when he left the Lakers and went to save, quote-unquote, the Houston Rockets, not by his doing, but by the public's doing. Everybody thought he would be the savior of the Rockets. To me, Dwight Howard has become the most overrated player I have ever observed. Given all that buildup, given all the expectations, this is a man who, to me, plays mostly with a low motor, mostly with low passion for the game of basketball. And if I may frame him in the DeMarcus Cousins new perspective, DeMarcus badly outplayed him last night in Sacramento. DeMarcus, for all of his off-the-court problems, DeMarcus plays with a passion, even a rage, if you will, that I never see from Dwight. I'm never sure Dwight really cares about much of anything except doing okay, looking okay, staying out of the crossfire and the spotlight, putting up decent stats, but if they win, it's like take it or leave it to Dwight Howard. That's my 2 cents from a distance. DeMarcus Cousins sometimes plays with over-the-top passion and sometimes out-of-control desire to win basketball games, but I still love that. And I still think DeMarcus is the best big man, as you do too, in basketball today. And if, in fact, the Miami Heat had a choice, if it came down to trading Hassan Whiteside and maybe a Justice Winslow for either a Cousins or a Dwight, I am going Cousins all day, all night. Dwight is only now 30 years of age, but he has played 12 seasons. I'll throw this in. Remember, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was able to play until he was 42 as a big man. And Dwight could have a lot of big, good years left in him. I'm just done with him. I just wouldn't want him in the center of my team. I wouldn't want to have to feed off his lack of energy. So in the end, in my view, his market value would be very low right now.
Let's get a couple of things out of the way right now, Skip Bayless. If you remember when Dwight Howard made the decision to go to to go from Los Angeles to Houston.
Yep.
I was on vacation in the islands, and literally I had to come on SportsCenter, just so you know, Molly, I had to come on SportsCenter from the islands, okay? or while I was on a boat traveling from one island to the other, as my man Stan Verrett would say, at a secret tropical location, because I never let anybody know where I'm going. Oh. While on that boat, I got a call from Dwight Howard because obviously people were saying he was flip-flopping, and he absolutely positively was not flip-flopping. He had made the decision to go to Houston. I pretty much knew weeks in advance he was going to go to Houston because that's what I had been hearing, albeit not from him. And then in the aftermath of all of that, once he decided to go to Houston, I was there at his press conference that following weekend, and I did a one-on-one interview with him for SportsCenter. Skip, I'm sure you recall that.
I do.
Having said all of that, I bring that up to point this out. I know Dwight Howard a little bit. Skip Bayless, I don't find him to be a liar. If he says that it's a lie, that he's extremely unhappy playing second fiddle to James Harden, I think that part is a lie.
Okay.
I will acknowledge, I do believe it's the truth that he's not happy with taking just 8 shots a game.
Okay.
Because he took 11 his first year, and I think that, he's Dwight Howard. His thinking is probably I deserve, about 13 to 15 shots a game, not going from 11 to 10 to 8 in my 3 seasons and now my 3rd season in Houston. So I think that he's right when he's saying there is an accuracy to that report. I find him to be a relatively honest guy and a decent guy whose heart usually is in the right place. So let's not sit there and use it as a reason to excoriate or denigrate his character. Let's keep it to his game.
All right.
Here's the problem with Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard was also preoccupied with his brand just as much as he was with his game. So knowing how important his brand is to him, meaning the brand that is Dwight Howard, the Superman cape, the endorsement deals, the cachet that he had coming from Orlando before he was ultimately traded to Los Angeles when he refused really to be a part of the Orlando Magic organization any longer. That Dwight Howard appears to be no more. Now, why that is, you can look at James Harden, not just shooting the ball, but dribbling, going one-on-one, and doing a lot of the things that he does that doesn't necessarily facilitate a big man getting the ball enough. That's number one. Number two, Dwight Howard doesn't appear to be the same player that he used to be. He seems a bit heavier to me. He seems a bit slower to me. He doesn't seem as athletic and as agile to me as he once was, and that may very well be due in large part to his injuries. But these are the things that I was pointing to when folks for the Houston Rockets were up in a tizzy because I blamed Dwight Howard for Kevin McHale's firing. I wasn't trying to imply that he got him fired on purpose. I certainly wasn't trying to imply that he didn't care or anything like that. What I'm saying is Kevin McHale was one of the preeminent big men we've ever seen. For the youngsters out there who don't know, before Tim Duncan came along, one could argue that Kevin McHale may have been the best low-post offensive power forward in the history of basketball. That's how big time he was. So when Dwight Howard decided to go to Houston, we were supposed to look at Dwight Howard and say, Kevin McHale's teaching you. Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon is in that stable, helping you out. The combination of those two dudes was part of the reason Dwight elected to leave L.A. and go to Houston, and was supposed to be a big reason why his game was supposed to be elevated. The fact that it wasn't ultimately led to the demise of Kevin McHale. Because if you can't get Dwight Howard to be at his best, what purpose do you serve? I believe that played a role in Daryl Morey deciding to go in a different direction. What it comes down to, however, Skip, is ultimately where you went. Dwight Howard is not better than DeMarcus Cousins. And due to his health, I'm not trading Hassan Whiteside to get him either. Hassan Whiteside is raw offensively. His defense, his rebounding, his shot blocking ability, I'm not letting go of Hassan Whiteside for any big man in the NBA other than DeMarcus Cousins, who I believe is unquestionably the best big man in all of basketball. DeMarcus Cousins is on another level. He is where we thought Dwight Howard would ultimately go, but he has not. And I will go as far as to say this, and I hope Dwight Howard is listening, because I hope his pride kicks in and he responds. DeMarcus Cousins is on another level. Dwight Howard ain't even in the same stratosphere as DeMarcus Cousins right now. DeMarcus Cousins is is big time. He can walk around averaging 25 and 12. All George Karl has to do is call his number more. He's got an inside game, he's got an outside game, and more importantly, he's got the attitude to go with it. DeMarcus Cousins is the best big man in basketball. And I'm not thinking about losing Hassan Whiteside if I'm Miami for any big man but him.
By the way, last night against Dwight, DeMarcus made 2 threes, so he's starting to shoot threes, shooting more and more. I think he's only shooting like 31%, but still, he can make threes. He can make free throws, far more valuable than Dwight is. Now, back to Dwight. So do you agree with me that Dwight falls back into that syndrome of he always looks the part with those big, massive shoulders of his, but doesn't always play the part? Is that fair? He doesn't play up to the way he presents himself?
It's fair if we're willing to acknowledge that injuries play a role. Dwight Howard has not been healthy. You understand? And that needs to be said. It ain't like he just lost his skill and he's just an average player because of his skill sets having diminished. It's because of his health. It's just that it's important to recognize.
He said he
for
played,
Dwight Howard.
Yeah, right. He played with a knee injury last year through the playoffs.
That's right. Dan Fagan and all, you know, listen, they do a wonderful job representing him. I like Dan Fagan a lot. Here's the reality. Everything that Dwight Howard went from L.A. to Houston for, he has come up short. Yeah, they were in the Western Conference Finals last year. That much is true. But in terms of his own individual ascension, it has fallen considerably short. Literally, Dwight Howard is coming across as just another average player.
He is. I would agree.
That's what's going on right now. And so he's got to have the pride and the intestinal fortitude to step up and remind everybody of what Superman once was. And if he can't do it, it might be because of his health more so than anything else. But in the end, you just ain't that dude anymore. I'm waiting to see the Dwight Howard that was in Orlando, that to some degree was in L.A., and that we had projected was going to be in Houston. We have not seen that Dwight Howard. That's the only reason I blamed him, is because it's not that he did anything malicious or anything. It's just that more was expected from him being paired with Kevin McHale than was actually delivered upon. And it might have been very well because of his health. But right now, he comes across as, I would say, a slightly above average player. There's nothing star-studded about Dwight Howard. Yep. He's not even in DeMarcus Cousins' class. Nope. DeMarcus Cousins is in another stratosphere. It's almost like it's not there yet, because DeMarcus Cousins is no Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but it's almost like, you know how Artis Gilmore was a pretty good, you remember him, Skip, the age-old center. Artis Gilmore was a pretty good big man.
He was.
But he wasn't on the level of a Wilt Chamberlain or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That's the discrepancy between DeMarcus Cousins and Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard is not on DeMarcus Cousins' level at all. Okay. And he needs to change that.
And even at his best, even in the beginning in Houston, with Kevin McHale, with Akeem Olajuwon sitting courtside and offering whatever help he could give to Dwight to develop a low-post game, a go-to fourth-quarter low-post game, I still never saw it, Stephen A. I'm sorry. I never saw that where I said, wow, that's a force.
Time out. But let me tell you why. Let me tell you why I think that that's not something you should focus on. We never saw in Bill Russell's offensive repertoire what we saw from Wilt Chamberlain. But you still couldn't deny the appreciation that you needed to have for Bill Russell, his rebounding, his defensive abilities, his commitment to winning. What I'm saying to you is that Dwight Howard doesn't have to be DeMarcus Cousins to be near his value. If he could run the floor like a gazelle the way he used to, if he could rebound and block shots the way that he used to, if he can impact the game the way that he spent his career doing in Orlando, then we would say, well, DeMarcus Cousins has got better skills, but Dwight Howard is still in the vicinity because of his impact. The problem is that we look at DeMarcus Cousins and we see incredible skill. What we're looking for from Dwight Howard isn't the skill, but we're looking for the impact. And we're getting neither.
Yep.
We're not getting the skill. We're not getting the impact. And regardless of what anybody wants to say about James Harden, you ask the city of Houston, who would they rather have? And it would be 1,000% in favor of James Harden, because even on slow days, the brother brings it, at least in moments, if not consistently throughout a 48-minute contest. You don't get that from Dwight Howard.
No.
And that is the problem right now.
By the way, I got to defend Bill Russell on one point. You realize he always owned Wilt Chamberlain when it counted. When it counted, Bill Russell's savvy, his clutch shot making, his just desire to win exceeded and eclipsed. See, to me, Wilt Chamberlain had more of Dwight's personality and nature. I never knew if Wilt really cared that much about winning. He was more about stats, but that's just me.
Well, that's fair, but I don't think Dwight Howard is about stats. I honestly believe that the problem with Dwight Howard is that his primary focus is peace of mind. Dwight Howard wants to come to work. He wants to go home. He doesn't want to make any noise. Any noise that he does make, he wants it to be in a very affable way where he's getting along with people. Everything's fine. The sun will shine tomorrow. I'm in Texas. I don't have to pay state income tax on my money. Everything in life is beautiful. He doesn't like controversy. He doesn't like adversity
or expectations.
And the fact of the matter is that he doesn't like the requirement of being a rough rider.
I agree.
He's not a punk.
Totally agree.
He's not soft. But he doesn't like the requirement of being a rough rider.
I agree.
And in his position, you got to be a rough rider.
Last quick point on Hassan Whiteside. By all I read from our experts on ESPN.com and for what my eyes tell me in watching the Miami Heat, it looks like they are cooling on his defensive abilities. He'll still block shots, change shots, but his commitment to playing, you know, whatever minutes he plays, 35, 38 minutes of defense, I don't think they're sold on that. So they're looking to upgrade.
Well, in fairness to Miami Heat, I have not spoken to them about that, because usually when I reach out to them and I speak to them about things, they'll give me honest answers. So I want to preface my comments by saying I have not spoken to the Miami Heat about this particular issue. But here's what I can surmise throughout my years of obviously knowing the Miami Heat organization very well, who I consider nothing short of first class, from Mickey Arison and Nicky to Pat Riley on down to Andy and everybody else. It's a phenomenal organization. Here's the deal. I think that in Miami, because Pat Riley is the standard bearer, and he makes sure that standard is there, and a great young coach like Eric Spoelstra, Pat Riley might as well have given birth to this man the way they think alike. This dude is a true protege of Pat Riley. I think playing for guys like that, you understand the importance of pacing yourself. Hassan Whiteside having the year that he had last year, understanding that he might need to pace himself, engage, and make sure he doesn't expend so much energy to the point where he wears himself out as the season wanes. I suspect, I don't know, but I suspect that may play a role in what you're not seeing from him over the course of 35 minutes. Because Pat Riley and those boys, you know, you work when you play for the Miami Heat organization. You know, you don't get too many days off. They're committed to excellence. And sometimes, you know, what they require from you on a daily basis may be a bit different than what other teams required, because they have a standard they're fixated on living up to. So if you're Hassan Whiteside, as you develop and grow, yeah, you might have been hearing your name a little bit too much, might be feeling the press just a little bit, possibly, but I think it's more so about him pacing himself. I think this kid's got a lot of promise. I like him a lot. I spoke to Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, several other players about him. They rave about him. They seem to be very fond of him. I haven't spoken to them in several weeks about him. Haven't spoken to Hassan in several weeks. But last time I spoke was when I saw him when I interviewed Dwayne Wade. But I believe in this kid, and I think he's got a lot of promise. I don't move him unless I'm getting DeMarcus Cousins. I'm not letting go of Hassan Whiteside for Dwight Howard. Not this Dwight Howard. I'm not doing it.
We got it.
All right. Let's leave it there. The guys have strong takes on Dwight and thoughts, as you just heard, and they agree. They actually agree on something. They both would rather have DeMarcus Cousins over Dwight Howard at this point. But we want to hear from you. Which NBA big man would you rather have on your squad, Howard or DeMarcus Cousins? Vote in our Twitter poll at First Take. We'll reveal those
100%.
results at the end of the show. I don't think it will be, Stephen A., but we shall see. We'll reveal that later and revisit it. Yeah.
We should have an idiot poll.
Stop it.
Who's the idiot that picked Dwight Howard over DeMarcus Cousins? That's what we should have, an idiot poll, because it should be 100%. Anybody who knows basketball, that's been watching basketball for the last year, unless you want to sit there and say, I don't trust DeMarcus Cousins temperamentally, which I think is bogus, unless that's the reason, there is no excuse for anybody who knows anything about basketball to pick Dwight Howard over DeMarcus Cousins at this juncture. DeMarcus Cousins is the best big man in basketball. There's nothing to talk about. Anybody who says otherwise, they should get their basketball card snatched, and they should be banned from having an opinion about basketball.
Can't wait for these results.
Did you get a hold of my Diet Mountain Dew this morning? What is into you? I've never heard you like this.
Hype, he's focused, big day, ready to go.
Look, hey, Skip, Skip, you know what? Hey, listen. It's basketball, baby. I mean, what do you want me to say?
What do you
want me to say?
I want you to say a little less. That's all.
Well,
so Molly can talk.
Bring up the Cowboys. I promise you I'll have nothing to say. I'll have nothing to say.